Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Can I see just a thumb up so I know that everything is okay? Yes, no, yes, perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us for the third webinar in the series within the Project Sustain Youth. Um, as you know, during the previous 2 days, we have been two times when we had the webinars, we have been exploring important topics regarding sustainability in youth work. And today we are moving on with our third topic, which is sustainability guide for youth organizations. As you can see in the title of the webinar, this is just the first phase. So after this, we will have the fourth one with the continuation of this topic. Before we begin, I would like to thank you all for participating, especially the ones who are following the course from the beginning. To all participants, as well as the speakers that have been so far, and everybody who's basically made this happening and contributed to making of these webinars. So during today's webinar, I would like to invite you to actively participate. Feel free to ask questions as well as to share your thoughts. The chat in the Zoom is open, so I think throughout the webinar, if you have additional questions or something to ask, feel free to do so. So it is my pleasure to welcome our speakers today, coming from TDM 2000, and they will guide us through this topic of sustainability guide through youth organizations. Thank you once again for being here. I hope you will enjoy today's webinar. And without further ado, I think I can give floor to Antonio, which will continue with the presentation. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Stefan, for the introduction. And thanks to everyone for being here and taking your time and using your time to be with us. As just stated by Stefan, we are gonna share just first part of the guide, since through overall the project, we managed to pass from an introduction a bit about our project, SustainYouth, which is a project co-funded by the European Commission within the frame of cooperation partnership. And the second one, webinar, was introduced by our colleagues and friends from TDM 2000 Estonia, was mentioning and talking about another element that we developed during the project, which is the self-assessment tool, and the guide that we are going to share straight at the moment. A bit is gonna be actually directly connected to the self-assessment tool. So the idea is actually to have a process that is going to take every organization involved, youth worker involved, to pass through self-assessment tool, and out of the self-assessment tool that we tried from last webinar, then go through the guide. I will share with you actually the presentation. Just one second, because I have to share my screen. And here we are. Okay. So as I told you, this part is just the first part. That's why you read the webinar one, even though like this one is a webinar three, and it's gonna be connected to the guide. The first part of the guide is gonna be taking care about these three areas. Those are the areas that were also mentioned and chosen through our work involving people and discussing and also using them and selecting them for the self-assessment tool. Which are actually the three out of 6 areas. And the ones that we are going to focus a bit more in this first part is actually environmental policies and commitment. So more something connected to which policies as a youth organization and commitment you might take. Second area is actually workspace and daily operations, very important for us as organizations to consider which workspaces we do have, and also how we deal with the daily operations. So what we usually run, if we have any policy in the office, which kind of policy. Those are also very key elements in order to turn ourselves more sustainable. And last but not least, we have environmental awareness and training, also part of the overall sustainability process, which is basically mostly connected to the fact that it's not only important that we are aware of sustainability, but also we share and we try to spread about that. Of course, not only outside the organization, but also within the organization. So it's also important to have clear in mind that overall, all the staff of your entity or organization is aware, and you can also train them. As you can see in the webinar 2, instead, we will cover the other three areas, which are like stakeholder events and monitoring, which will be deepened by our colleagues from Greece, from IGS. Another very important thing about the guide that I need to share with you. So it's not just a document, but we wanted to basically develop something very practical and an opportunity that could be for everyone. So what we had in mind when we were developing this specific guide, it was actually to create something that is very concrete and which is providing not only content connected to the topic, but especially concrete activities that can be reproduced by anyone, even people that are not expert of the topic. So there is a possibility to go deeper, where we provide also a bit more content to go and to study more, but nevertheless also to prepare direct activities. The activities that we prepare inside, as you can see, are like more like since we are all youth workers involved. I guess we are many people are very familiar with the compass style or format where we do have like outlines. So very clear description of the activity with materials ready to be used. And they are based, of course, since we are all of us are working on formal education, on non-formal learning sessions, connected with some handouts. So we connect to the second part. All the handouts that I'm gonna show also are like templates that you can use clearly, and they can be used as many times as you want. That's why then we connect with the third part, which is the monitoring part. So what we try to provide is, out of these handouts and activities, also this supporting system in order to make you monitor your process of becoming more sustainable as an organization. So out of the overall guide, you're gonna pass through content, the activities, the handouts that are gonna help you on monitoring of the results that you are doing. That's why it's a bit of a cycle, we might say. And it goes always like through self-assessment tool. So you check which are the areas that are most interesting for you. Then you go to the guide, you go deeper on the area, you work and you do the activities, you monitor them, and so on and so on. And so you remake the self-assessment tool. What else? It's built in easy for navigation. So the chapter structure, as you can see, it's based on meaning, frameworks, good practices. So we share also some good practices, activities, tips, and monitoring. This clear structure that we followed. And last but not least, we have these scannable tags. So it's things where like we understand clearly, like if there is a low effort to implement tomorrow. So things that you can clearly understand that can be quick wins out of these handouts that you can see. So they're going to support you to understand which are the little actions that we can run and act very fast. So the most effective ones. And then system change. So like we have also handouts that are going to help you on the long process or the long-term system change, which of course requires, as I told you, a longer process. Youth-led. So we thought also that since we are, and this project is clearly defined and made for a youth organization, I guess it's very important that we always consider that all these activities are youth-led. So inside the activities, we also thought to have activities ready to be run, and not only with the staff of youth workers, but also with the young people you usually work every day, so that they make you also understand, or they might provide you a different perspective from the one in the office, and definitely a more fresher one, because they live clear their youth, and those are our last target. Last but not least, we have needs of budget and risk greenwashing. So we focus also on what would be the needs of budget and requires of funding, but also like how to be sustainable in the meaning of budget. So doing as much as possible with the least expenses, and then greenwashing and risk, which is happening many times, and it's sometimes we don't consider many different factors that needs to be considered in order to avoid this phenomenon of greenwashing that you might incur, and let's say being a youth organization doing greenwashing is not the best. So we try to more or less like give this structure. As you see, the area one, which is policies and commitment, the key idea of this first area is actually creating systems that are good for decision making. You can see the activity, which is the sustainability charter sprint, and then the outside that I will share soon. The practical use is basically like you can choose within your organization what 4 or 6 practical rules that are moving from abstract values to observable practice. So passing from words to actions, basically. And that's why I will share with you straight the different things. First of all is actually the guide, so you can see straight what we are talking about. Just give me 1 second, because I put the vision in wide. Okay. And so as you can see, the guide, it's a bit all divided, and you can see clearly its explanation of the guide, where we get inside. The guide is available also in all the languages of the partners involved, so don't worry if your English is not the best, or like anyway, there is the possibility to have it in Italian, Serbian, Greek, Romanian, Estonian, and French.
Anto, sorry, we cannot see it.
Sorry. Thank you very much for noticing me. Just give me 1 second. Very strange. Anyway, so you cannot see it. Just 1 second. Then I put out the visual like that. Then I will do that. And let's see if we manage now. Now? You can open also the mic and let me know.
Now it's okay.
Okay, very good. So I was sharing with you, and I was telling you like this, the guide, and it's focused on many different things, and it's available in different languages. Overall, in all the guide, you're gonna find, as I told you, it's divided by the 6 different main elements. And for instance, here you're gonna find like environmental policies and commitment, and all the activities, and in the end, actually the clear activities. This one, for instance, is the Sustainable Charter Sprint, which is one of the activities, which is the one that I was just mentioning. You have more or less like the purpose, time, group, with the minimum and maximum people you can involve, which material you might need, and which handout you will need. And then like more or less like how long it takes the activity, already defining to you like how to deal with that. For instance, like you do a reality mapping for this activity. So what do you already do? What is the biggest footprint? And then maybe you can work on commitment versus practices. And after that, you develop already the rules. So something that pass from idea to commitment, so to practice, so actions that you do. In order to do that, then you have like a draft the charter, as you can see, which is the handout A, which is this one. Can you all see the handout A? Just confirm me by that. But basically, like the handout A is a one-page sustainability charter, which works like that. You have the organization name, and they are all editable. So you can also download them. Since we're talking about sustainability, we create all PDF that are editable. So no need to print them, please. And you can use them and save them as many times as you want. So you put name of organization, and as you can see, the version. Because the idea, as already mentioned, is the fact that we are working on improvement. So you can do more versions of one file. And here you work on the purposes. So you can put a short statement. And then here you can choose the scope. So here you have like operations in the meaning of daily activities that you run as an organization, events, maybe like weekly or like very big one events that you organize, programs that you develop. So something that are connected also with activities, and then partnership. Might be also an idea to have like ideas of a partnership in order to reduce sustainability. Just to give an example, for instance, if we talk about operations as in the office, we insert a rule where like we forbid to use single use of bottles, plastic bottles of water. And if they bring it, anyone who is bringing gets a fine of €5 to put in a common collector, where basically then it's going to be useful to create like team building activities together or anyway time together. Other things anyway, like for events, give you another example. As for us that we are working mostly in Sardinia, it's very difficult to be sustainable in the meaning of travels. So one of the things that we do mostly is the compensation, which is basically the opportunity for you to give money to certain companies that they work on the nature and the plantation of trees all over the world, for instance, so to recover these CO2 emissions. And then, of course, like we talk on programs, so try to avoid, for instance, much use of paper. And last but not least, again, partnerships. Another interesting example that I can make about partnership could be like here in Cagliari, there are some friends of mine that they organize an event, and every year, they have a lot of printings roll up, and they made a partnership with a local artist where this person is basically reusing these roll-ups in order to make tote bags that then they are given in the next year event. So these are a little example that I wanted to make you, but here you have a commitment. So for instance, bullets, and then practices. So which practices, like we will do that. So to be clear, so from passing to from idea to action. Another thing very important is actually focal point and roles. So to decide who is doing what within the office. One is the focal point. So will be the main responsible sponsors, so who might help you and support you on that action. And then youth involvement. So how youth will be involved on that? As I told you, this youth-led part is going to be always important, and we consider that. So to be not only as a youth organization organized by your office, but also I'm sure that you have a lot of young people cooperating with you or maybe working with you, and this is also a part. And then, of course, you have like this quarterly check-in, which is, I told you, like it's the review. So you try to put a date on when you need to recheck these, let's say, these ideas, these actions that you put in practice, and check if they are working or not, or what you would like to change or not. And this was the first part that I wanted to share with you, connecting on that. The other part that I wanted then to talk to you, which is actually here this decision gate checklist. There are more like activities that you can run and handouts that you can choose. But now I will move anyway on the on another part, which could be interesting, which is the second part of the activities that we want to share, which is actually this one. Let me reshare again the presentation. And the second one is actually this one, which is connected to the workspace and the operations. And here you can see the key idea is like to improve the operational engine room footprint, to understand a bit what is the footprint. Last but not least, like we have like the activity that I'm gonna show you in a second, which is like Eco Office Walkthrough Audit, which is basically the idea of going around in the office, understanding what are the things that usually are creating footprint. Then you have this handout that I will show you, and practical use. So you create rules for paper, energy, waste, and procurement to actively change daily consumption habits. Talking on that, I will reshare now again the PDF part, which is connected to that, and is actually this one. You're gonna read like the walkie and walk, but anyway, talking about the office. So you put organization date and then zones. Here you have the different zones because we decided to have. It might be possible that, of course, like we have all different kind of offices or places where we usually work, and this can be considered. So we put like printing, so how much you print, energy. I'm sure that all of us we have plenty of sockets and things that are always on. And this could be one of the things. Waste. I'm sure that all of us also have a waste management. I know that in every country is different, but for instance, here we do recycling and division, like split of these different kind of waste, and it's important for us also to take care about that. I'm sure that you may be like probably in your office might have a kitchen, so it's also important how you deal with that, how much you use it, and what is the waste created also by the kitchen. Meeting room, since we use it a lot to make activities also like this webinar, for instance. And last but not least, devices. So many of you, I'm sure you have laptops, computers, projectors, cameras, and all these different devices that might be useful for your organization to daily work with the young people, and those are also part of it. So as you can see, we put like also clear definition. So for each zone, answer 4 prompts below. So keep it short, defaults, biggest change, and what support is needed. And for every part, we put like a dedicated box to write. So for instance, if you go on printing, here you can write down printing how many times, how many pages, what is the current situation on the printing of your organization. It might be possible that there are also things that you are forced to print. I know that bureaucracy is different in different places of the world and Europe, and I guess probably maybe you need to print certain things or to keep documents and that you are forced to keep. Another important part is waste, energy, paper created. In this case, like waste of paper, but also waste of energy, because anyway you are using the printer and how many times you are using. one change that would reduce the most. So try to understand which could be an idea of reducing the printing. So what could be, for instance, I don't know, turning all the documents into PDF that can be saved and kept in a proper drive, for instance, or even like reducing paper waste. So, for instance, why not choosing a paper that it's already used if something that you have to print is not very important to keep. And nonetheless, also maybe when you're buying the paper, for instance, you can choose to buy recycled paper, white paper. What we need, so like here you put like rule, signage, equipment, and responsibility. So here you can put what is the rule that you want to put on printing, signage, and equipment. So understand like also the waste and maybe calculate. I don't know, to have like a process where for instance, you can check how many papers you use monthly. So someone responsible also to checking that. In fact, in the end, you have this responsible. So try to find also a person that is responsible to check this waste. Especially because if you don't nominate anyone that is checking that, then it's not going to work the monitoring. Then going on, it's energy. So again, its current situation is basically the same, which is the waste. It might be possible, for instance, for the energy to always switch off all the sockets once you leave or the office, so that you don't have this waste, which even though is low level of energy, it's a waste because you are keeping things that are not necessary to be on and connected to electricity on that time, unless of course in the kitchen you have a fridge, so you have things that needs to be always on the fridge and you need to keep it on. Then we go on waste. You can check on the current situation. Again, I told you like you might have different country rules on the waste, but I guess it's always a good point to divide waste and try to raise awareness on recycling and avoiding waste. So, for instance, try to check how much one person or all of you are wasting. If anyone is bringing food from outside, how is processed? If you have organic, where do you waste it, and so on, and so on, and so on. And or like even like trying to reuse. I don't know, on the waste. One of the things, for instance, in our office we do is again this paper thing. So if paper can be reused on the other side, we have a part where we put all the recycled paper, and so anyone who, I don't know, needs a paper to take notes or print for not important things is always there available, so we don't throw them away. Then when we talk about kitchen, here it is more about current situation. I'm sure that in the kitchen most waste is the food. I don't know, things that maybe you buy and you forget, and then they go out dates, and you need to throw them. So try to understand how to avoid these things, or rather like understanding how many times you use that. Or for instance, in kitchen, one of the things that we use a lot, it's for tea time and other things like it's boilers, which has, you cannot imagine, but it's very high level of energy waste. And this could be like also decided. So for instance, if you go for a tea, you don't go alone, but maybe you ask to the rest of the crew of your office if they want a tea. So you prepare only once the boiler, and the boiler is working only once. Just some little example. And then we have a meeting room. So here we go on how you deal with the meeting room. Where do you put the things? How do you use it? How many times you use it? If you use, for instance, flip charts or things that might be avoided. What is the things that create waste out inside the meeting room, and so on. Last but not least, you have these devices. So you check the devices, and the devices are not talking only about like the energy to recharge them. which is also very important, but also why not to check devices that maybe are out of use, you're not using them, so why to keep them? And it's very important to have like a control of them. And that's why I would also suggest to put a responsible on devices to check, and also if they become obsolete. It might happen that there are devices that you have them, but they become obsolete, but maybe you can reuse them or keep them. And this is like also a part of it. Out of that, then you put like this part, which is dedicated to quick wins. So actions that can help you straight after once you do them to improve. And then system change. As I told you, so the difference between like immediate, so short term, and the long term. Try to understand a bit this difference together with your colleagues in order to then go on improving this part. Then we go on the last part of the webinar, and the last area that I'm gonna tackle here, which is actually just give me 1 second. It's this one, which is the area dedicated to awareness and training. So the key idea again is here is to convert from abstract learning into daily organization practice. And here you have like an activity which is nice. It's about myth, fact, and action cards. And you have a special tool on that. And the idea is actually the practical use is to avoid misconception and create 3 to 5 actions via very short workshops that you can choose. I will show you now actually the handout that we created for that, which is actually this one. And this one is actually like you have some examples. Statement simple, so you can put a statement. Here you have some examples. So for instance, recycling is the main thing we can do. And the idea is actually like to work on might, fact, and action. So out of might, because most of us, especially connected to environment and to sustainability, especially sustainability, because sustainability is only not only connected to environment, but to many factors, as you can understand from the different areas that we choose. But there are many myths that needs to be busted, and this is like why we created this activity, which is very easy to make understand everyone which are the myths and the facts. So to understand also the different on that. And here there are some examples that we put. So one is recycling is the main thing we can do, which is of course a myth that there are many things that can be done more than recycling. Then you have this part, digital is always better than paper. Not very true. You know how much nowadays is very high the impact of technology and of digital things. Anything that we are putting in a drive, or when we are using, I don't know, for instance, Padlet, we are putting them in the web, and they are all supported by this big system that need a lot of water use, and this is creating a huge impact. So also to understand that, to have like a kind of balance between digital and traditional approach might be useful for you. And that's also very important. Or another thing that can be connected to the digital part is the overuse of AI on many things. And it is, of course, like to understand when you really need to use the AI to support you and when it's not. Last but not least, we have also another example that we put here. So for instance, sustainability means extra costs. Could be a myth, could be not. So when we talk about sustainability, it's very important. I was mentioning about the cost of things and expenses. Of course, if I want to keep something sustainable, but it's very expensive and I cannot afford, then I need to find a way that can be also sustainable for me, in meaning of economically. Then the second part, which is after the statement, we put this why it matters. So, and we put also example for connected to the example that we put. So connected to the recycling, we have depends. Prevention often matters more. So for instance, on recycling could be, but then when you do prevention and we raise more awareness, probably you avoid much more the waste and the need of just recycling. Then here you put like depends set a digital agent rule to avoid duplication storage waste. Many times we have 3, 4 copies of things that we have several times just because we don't manage or we don't develop a process or a system in order to storage all our files. And then we have like this depends on many measures, save money, track evidence. So how to understand a bit how to be in balance between like the expenses and the sustainable approach. And then there is the clear action in our life. The example that we put here is, for instance, in the part of recycling, identify one prevention step. So avoid single use. As I mentioned before, for instance, for the bottles of single-use plastic bottle of water, reduce printing, cut waste. The second example, instead, connected to the digital part, it's adopt a simple digital agent rule. So naming, cleanup, no duplicate uploads. And then we have the last one connected to sustainability, connected to budget. And it's not the budget impact plus one cost saving measure to try next quarter. And here, of course, it's repeating because it's basically like the idea is to work on more might and fact and to bust them. These like basically all the different things that we thought about, and those are connected directly to the 3 different things that we were mentioning. Those are the 3 areas that we wanted to share with you in this webinar. Of course, I don't know, maybe you have questions so far or you have a reflection on that. Please, you can use either the chat or open the mic if you want to intervene or ask any questions, especially about related to the guide or anything that you might be curious. And for the rest, I thank you for the attention for now. And of course, if there are no questions, then we check and we go on. Okay. So far, there are no more questions about. Of course, I do remember you that the guide is available in our website, SustainYouth.eu, and you can find there also a self-assessment tool, which is connected, so you can follow all the process and try to use that also based on the results that the self-assessment tool is going to give you, so you can understand which area you need to focus a bit more in your organization. And last but not least, don't forget that the next step, the webinar we do have, the next one is going to be for connected to stakeholders. So how to deal a bit more with the stakeholders and people that can be your partners on that, events and monitoring and improvement. And follow always, I wanted to share with you, I put a cycle in the presentation that I do have here, which is actually basically to follow always these steps, very important. So assess, so you understand, you act, and then you monitor. So this is more or less what we thought, and follow as much as possible this process. And of course, if you have any questions or you need support, you can contact one of us from all the partners organizations that are involved in our project. We will be more than happy to mentor you and support you on this process, because this is also part of our daily activities. So you are all invited for the next webinar. If there are no more questions, next webinar is gonna be Stefan, you need to help me with the date. I don't have it here. Maybe you can share with the others what is the date of the next webinar.
Same here. I think it's next Wednesday. I would say just to check. I think yes, next Wednesday. Now I'm not sure
Okay.
with the dates as well. Sorry.
Which is yeah, 3rd of June.
Yes.
3rd of June.
Anyways, as people know, we also post and share invites on our social media, and as well, there is a calendar of all the events for the future, which you can follow and maybe map them down in your phones. And since I already turned on the camera, just to use the opportunity to tell you that after the webinar is over, via email, you will get the evaluations form regarding this webinar, where you can give your feedback. That's it for me.
Good. Thank you very much to everyone, and see you until next webinar.
Bye. Bye, Antonio. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.